Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and here we are with yet another video on the topic mandibular second premolar. This is going to be the permanent mandibular second premolar, and we will be discussing about the various aspects of this tooth. Before coming to the features, let's just briefly talk about the functions of this uh, mandibular second premolar. So the premolars, as we know, they are not present in the deciduous dentation. They only come in the permanent dentation. So here we can see that they have less sharp cusps, and the cusps articulate with the opposite teeth when the jaws are brought together. And when the mandibular and the maxillary second premolar, they occlude the surfaces. They are fit properly together, the cusps and the grooves. So this makes them more efficient as the grinding teeth. So they function more like molars. So the second, as I have already told in the first mandibular premolar, they look more similar to the canines. Okay, their function is also more like the canines. But for the mandibular second premolar, the second or maxillary second, they function more like a molar. Now they provide support to the cheeks, and they are near the corners of the mouth. Okay, and they reinforce aesthetics during smile. These were some functions. Let's just move on to the morphology of the mandibular second premolar. So first we will talk about the buccal aspect. Okay, so the buccal aspect, you can see this is a trapezoidal shaped crown. So the crown is trapezoidal, and the mesial outline. Okay, so if this is my mandibular second right, if this is my right mandibular second premolar, then the mesial aspect will be over here somewhere. Okay, and this is the distal. So when we for mandibular, right, this will be mesial and this will be distal, not maxillary. Mandibular right, not left, right. So this has to be the mesial, this has to be the distal. Okay, so basically when we see the buccal aspect, we can see this buccal ridge over here. What else we can see? Other features we can see this buccal cusp tip. This is quite blunt, not that sharp as we saw in the first mandibular premolar. Why? Because it helps in grinding, not in the tearing of food. Okay, so now moving on, let's see the mesial outline of this tooth. So as you can see, the mesial outline of the buccal aspect, it is convex over here near the cervix, and then it shortens. Okay, it's short and it's over here, it's convex over here, and the height of contour for or the mesial contact area is at the middle third of the crown, somewhere over here. Then it is more convex. Okay, the distal outline is more convex, and the height of contour is also in the middle third, so same level. And the occlusal outline, the buccal cusp tip is blunt, with mesial and distal buccal cusp ridges meeting at a more obtuse angle. So this angle, which they mean this angle, it is more obtuse, that is more than 90 degrees. Okay, I hope the points still here are clear. Moving on, the cervical line, it's slightly apically curved. Okay, it's directed this way. And the buccal surface, the crown appears short and bulky from the buccal aspect. Short and bulky, okay, and it is smooth and convex. It's convex, bulged out like this, and the buccal ridges extend from the cervical line to the buccal cusp tip, and it is very prominent. So the buccal ridges, they are prominent and they extend from the cervical line to the buccal cusp tip. Okay, like this. Moving on, let's see the lingual aspect. This is also trapezium shaped, and seeing the crown outlines, we can see that the mesial and distal outlines, right? So let's see the mesial outline. So they are all similar, the mesial and distal. When you just flip the tooth, they're all the same shaped. Even the cervical outline is similar to the buccal aspect. The lingual aspects, the three outlines are similar. No big difference, only in the occlusal outline. It is formed by the lingual cusp tip and the cusp ridges. Here it was formed by the buccal cusp tip and the ridges. Here it is formed by the lingual cusp tip and the ridges. A part of a buccal cusp is seen since the lingual cusps are not as long as the buccal cusp. So you can see over here, this lingual cusp is shorter than the buccal. So a part of this buccal, this is the behind, okay, this is the lingual cusp and this is the buccal cusp tip, and the ridges are seen from the lingual aspect because the height of the lingual cusp is shorter. Let's see the lingual surface. The crown appears bulky from the lingual aspect, and the crown doesn't taper much lingually. See, it's broad, not that much tapered, and it varies, this is kind of an exception where the mandibular second premolar, it can have 3 cusp type or 2 cusp type. That is, we can see in the occlusal surface, but there are variations. So the lingual cusp or cusps are well developed and are nearly of the same length as that of the buccal cusp. A part of a occlusal surface is also seen from the lingual aspect, and the lingual surface is smooth and spheroidal. It is also smooth. This was also smooth, that is also smooth. And mesial aspect we will see just a second. Yes, so let's move on to this mesial aspect first, right? What do we see in the mesial aspect of the mandibular second premolar? First, we can see the crown shape. How is it? It's kind of rhomboidal shaped like this. Okay, so it's a rhombus, right? I've just drawn it roughly, but this tooth is rhomboidal in shape. Moving on, let's see the buccal outline of this tooth. Okay, so this is buccal and this is lingual. Then how can we see the buccal outline? We can see it is convex, right? It is convex like this, and the height of contour is at the middle third of the crown. It's highest over here. And similarly, the lingual outline, it is less convex. The height of contour is at the occlusal third. It's over here, and it is not that convex. Okay, this is more convex. Height of contour is in the occlusal third of the crown. And moving on, a point to be noted that the lingual outline, okay, the lingual outline is out of the confines of the root base. This is the root base, right? And it's outside. Okay, if this has to be over here, this is out of the root base. Okay, and now moving on to the occlusal outline, it is concave, right? You can see it's clearly concave, and the mesial marginal ridge is at the right angle to the long axis of the tooth. So the mesial marginal ridge, okay, it is at the right angle to the long axis of the tooth. If this is the long axis of the tooth, then this is 90 degrees. It's right angle. Okay, hope you understand this point. And the cervical outline, it is curved occlusally. You can see clearly it is curved occlusally. Then the mesial surface, we'll talk about the surface now. The crown is lingually inclined on its root base. As I told, it's rhomboidal shape. It's kind of inclined, okay, on the root base. You can see it's inclined like this. This is the rhombus, and it's lingually inclined. I drew the rhombus in the opposite direction. The rhombus is like this, it is lingually inclined, that is towards the lingual aspect. And the buccal cusp is blunt, as I had already told. The cusps are not that sharp, they are blunt. Okay, and the lingual cusp tip is in the line with the lingual outline of the root. Lingual cusp tip is at the line of the lingual. Okay, and the mesial surface is smoothly convex and may have some developmental grooves. Okay, it's basically smooth and convex, not that. It has bit of some of developmental grooves are present there. And mesial contact area, it is at the middle third of the crown and centered buccolingually. In the buccal aspect, we saw it is in the middle third of the crown, centered buccolingually. This is buccolingual direction. So it is at the center of this line, at the middle third. So that is basically in the center of the crown. Moving on to the distal aspect, same distal aspect is rhombus in shape. Okay, it is rhombus, and it is so this is buccal, this is lingual, and the buccal and the lingual outlines are same. Buccal, lingual, cervical outlines are all same as the mesial aspect. The difference is occlusal outline. The distal marginal ridge is also perpendicular. Here we saw the mesial marginal ridge. It was perpendicular to the long axis of the root. Here the distal marginal ridge is also perpendicular to this. This forms a 90 degree over here. Okay. But it is at a lower level than the mesial marginal ridge. Here it was at higher level. Here it is a bit lower level because you can see. Okay. It is at the lower level. Moving on, The distal surface is also smooth and convex. More of the occlusal surface can be seen than from the mesial aspect, as the distal marginal ridge is at a lower level. So the distal, you have to imagine this in a 3D view, okay? Here the mesial marginal ridge, it is at the higher level over here, okay? Higher, this thing. But for the distal, it is, so you can only visualize it from the occlusal surface. That is not even occlusal, but like this, okay? If this is my, yeah, this is my mesial and this is my distal. This is the mesial marginal ridge, this is the distal marginal ridge. So in 3D, this one is a bit higher and this one is a bit lower. So that is why if this is a bit lower, then more of the occlusal surface is seen from the distal aspect. Hope it's clear. I will repeat again. Here they are saying that the mesial marginal ridge, it is 90° to the root axis, okay, of the tooth. But this 90° is at a higher level. That means that line joins at a higher level. That is, this portion, this mesial marginal ridge is higher. It is more tooth over here and less over here. So if there is less over here, so it is like this, it is slant, and that is why you can see more of this surface, the occlusal surface. Okay, we will come to the occlusal surface soon. So this was something about the distal aspect. Coming on to the occlusal aspect. What can we see over here? There are two forms. Okay, I had told you this before. There is 3 cusp type, that is the Y groove pattern, and 2 cusp type, it can be U or H groove. Here I have drawn the Y groove pattern, okay, and it is 3 cusp type. You can see 1, 2 and 3. Mesolingual, distolingual cusp, and the buccal cusp, the bulk. So this is the Y-shaped groove pattern. This is more common, and there is also U-shape and H-shape groove patterns. Not much to discuss in the occlusal aspect. As I've already told, there is mesial marginal ridge, distal marginal ridge. There are 2 triangular fossas, and there are different kind of grooves over here. And about the root, there is only one root. Okay, the size of the root, it's broad and it's strong and longer than the first mandibular premolar. The form of the root is conical and it's tapering from the cervix to the apex. It is wider mesodistally and doesn't taper much towards the lingual aspect. So it is wider mesodistally. That is when we see this in the buccal aspect. If this is my buccal aspect, so it's wider like this than the buccolingual. This is more mesolingual. This is the buccal aspect, mesolingual. It's wider than the buccolingual dimension. And the buccal surfaces are convex and proximal surfaces are flat. The buccal surface, when you see this root from the buccal, it's more convex, okay, and here it's more flattened when you see from the mesial aspect. And the apex is more blunt, and curvature, the root may be strong, the root may be slightly curved, and the apex may be directed distally. That is, you can see from the buccal aspect, if this is mesial and this is distal, then the root, its apex is tilted towards the distal aspect. So this was some information about the permanent mandibular second premolar. If you like the video guys, do like, share, subscribe. Thank you.